With that down, let's move on to our fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today comes to us from Gautam Karhade, who writes, "Hi, John. I just read that Christopher Nolan's new movie, Tenet, has a reported budget of nearly $220 million, making it his most expensive film behind The Dark Knight Rises. Now, I am a huge Nolan fan and know that all of his films make a lot of money, but don't you think $220 million is a little too much for a completely original concept with actors who are not known to be big box office draws? Do you think Warner Brothers is taking a bit of a risk with this one, or is it going to pay off?" For those of you who do not know, Christopher Nolan has a new movie coming out next year called Tenet, which the studio is only described as being an innovative, high action kind of movie. We know Washington is in there, Denzel Washington's son. He was just amazing in BlacKkKlansman. And we know that Batman, Robert Pattinson, is also starring in the film as well. And that's really all we know, until we found out that it's got a $220. By the way, IndieWire is actually reporting a $225 million budget on this thing. That is astronomical. That is absolutely astronomical, especially for a movie that doesn't have the word Batman in the title. Mm-hmm. Maybe you got Batman in the film with Robert Pattinson, but it doesn't have Batman in the title. And that seems like a lot. Is it a huge risk? There's no doubt. Because when you're starting with a movie that has like a $220 million, your minimum, absolute bare bones minimum, you need to make to break even is in the $620 million range. Just to break even. That's a huge amount of money. And is it a risk? Yes. However, we all got to take risks. The question is, do you take calculated risks? Do you look at the information you have available and say, yeah, it's a risk, but are there things here to suggest that this might be a risk worth taking? And I would suggest, if you look at the track record of Christopher Nolan, even outside of the Batman films, there's enough, let's call anecdotal evidence to suggest that, yeah, this is probably worth a risk. Let's look at the last three movies that Christopher Nolan has done without the word Batman in the title, okay? Going back, he did Inception. $828 million on a $160 million budget. That was an original film, didn't have Batman in it, and it was all that kind of stuff, made a huge amount of money. Then he went even edgier, and he did Interstellar. $667 million on a $165 million budget, made big money for the studio, again, on a completely original film. Yes, it had Matthew McConaughey right in the midst in the powerful parts of the McConaissance and all that kind of stuff. I get that, but for him to deliver on that is crazy. Then Dunkirk. This is a movie that shouldn't have made more than $250 million worldwide. No way. Like a non-character focused, by any stretch of the imagination, somber kind of World War II epic about something that's not even known as one of North America's big, heroic events in the second, like Dunkirk. Made $526 million on a $100 million film. Now, outside of these numbers, the risk and the calculation of this risk has to extend to the man himself, to Christopher Nolan. Warner Brothers has made no secret over the years that they intend to be forever in the Christopher Nolan business. I think an argument could be made that while I believe Steven Spielberg is the greatest filmmaker of all time, there's an argument to be made that right now, Christopher Nolan's the man. That right now, it's Christopher Nolan's world and we all just live in it. So if Christopher Nolan comes to you and you're a studio and says, hey, look, here's my movie and it's a great looking movie, and I want $225 million. And you look at the man, you look at the track record, you look at what has our financial investments done with him before, and you're left with this question. $225 million is a risk, but is this worth the risk when you look at the man and the track record? And to me, Rob, I look at this and, from a business school point of view and from a filmmaking auteur point of view, I think the best answer is duh. Yes, this is a risk worth taking. If it was anybody else, maybe not. But this is Christopher Nolan. He has delivered time and time again. And maybe this movie loses a little bit of money. Maybe this movie makes $590 million comes up a little short. That doesn't matter. It's still worth the risk, I think. You go all in on Christopher Nolan all day, every day. Anyway, Rob, you're hearing about this. What do you think?
I'm with you, all in. I mean, the movie Inception, Warner Brothers marketing was convinced the movie was going to bomb. And they take credit for Inception's success, which is utterly ridiculous.
Of course they do.
I went and saw that movie 8 times in the theater.
Wow.
Because there's seldom times you go to the cinema and you see things you haven't seen before. That movie was, first of all, you had an incredible cast. Tom Hardy was great. Leonardo DiCaprio was great. I loved that film. And groundbreaking visuals. The fact that Christopher Nolan is all about practical photography. They built those hallway sets on gimbals so they could spin them around and people could walk on the ceiling. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's great in the film. And he gave us something we hadn't seen before. He literally gave us something that had never been seen on film before. And I think he's going to out Inception with Tenet. And I'm sure whatever he presented to Warner Brothers, people were looking at it going, I don't even know how you can do this. Can you do this? And he's like, I can do this. And like, oh, well, here's a check. I'm sure that's exactly what happened. And we don't have visionary filmmakers like this. These franchise properties, we were just talking about Fast and the Furious, these are marketing decisions. How many filmmakers do we have in the world today that can come up with startling original visions that we've never seen before, are going to go push the boundaries of the technology, and are going to go push the boundaries of what actors are expected to do, and push the boundaries of what studios are going to release these days. Everything we're getting is pre-packaged and pre-marketed. The fact that we have a Christopher Nolan that can do this, it's a wonderful thing, and it's what Hollywood exists for, and there's probably only one of him now. Maybe James Cameron is 2.
Denis Villeneuve,
but even him, he doesn't have the track record in terms of box office.
That's true, yeah.
Arrival
That's
and Blade
really
Runner
good,
2049, fantastic science fiction films. I hope Dune is a huge success. I can't wait. But Christopher Nolan, man, this guy's got the keys to the kingdom. Let's hope he uses them, and we'll all be better human beings for it.
Aaron, you're hearing about, I mean, look, there's no way around it. Christopher Nolan's name or not.
Yeah.
A $225 million sort of thing. That's make or break kind of money to a lot of studios as well. So you hear this, you're the head of Warner Brothers right now, okay?
Oh, okay, great.
And you get approached, Christopher Nolan says, this is the film I want to do. He paints the picture of the film for you. Let's go on the assumption that you like the picture of the film. And he says, here's the price tag. Do you go with it? Do you axe it? Do you pause? Or do you jump both feet? Like, what's your reaction to that if you're the head of that studio?
Well, obviously, I mean, I think any smart business person, before writing any check for $2 million or $225 million, there's always a pause. Where is this money going? You know, what's the breakdown of this? But also, I agree with Robert. I mean, as soon as you were talking about it, my first thought went to Inception. And like, I mean, there's nothing that I can say that Robert hasn't already said about the groundbreaking, visionary, la la la. But when you have an opportunity to push those boundaries, the money is all the line of how much money is too much money to spend is always going to be pushed. And right now we're saying, is $225 million too much? But I guarantee you, after this movie is made and it has the success that Inception had, which, what was the word that you used? You said it was about the film. Like, what is it called?
I can't remember.
Sorry, it was something like it was there was a term that you used for it, that it was going to be a different type of movie. Sorry, I can't remember exactly what you said. I had it in my brain. But I really do think that we're just continuing to move the line of what is acceptable, what is an acceptable amount of money to spend. At some point, $100 million was insane to spend on a movie, but we just keep moving that needle. And as long as the film is successful, then the needle will continue to move. And all I have to say is, I just want to visit that set and go to craft services. I mean, what are they serving for lunch? That's what I want to know.
Whatever Christopher Nolan wants.
Absolutely. And you know what? But again, it goes back to my previous statement. Movies like Fast and the Furious, those empty calorie movies, allow a little bit of I don't necessarily know if this is the response to that, but it does give a little bit more cushion.
Right. When you get these big films, it gives them a little bit more leeway for that.
So they can take these risks. And I think you guys are on the money. Christopher Nolan, that's a risk I would take.
Well, listen, guys, the question is, what would you do? You're the head of the studio. Christopher Nolan comes, you love him, but he wants $225 million. Is that something you jump on, or is that something you go, whoa, let's make this a little bit more financially responsibly? I want to hear what you would do with that. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.